Rich Habits, Poor Habits, Why the Rich Keep Winning, by Imperium Audiobooks. Introduction. The game you never knew you were playing. Let's start with a truth most people never want to hear. You're not poor because you were born in the wrong family or because life is unfair. You are poor because of habits that have been quietly programmed into you since childhood. The same is true for the rich. They're not rich because they are lucky or because they're smarter than you. They are rich because they've built a set of habits that quietly, consistently compound over time. You see, life is not a lottery. It's a system. And once you understand the system, you can start to rewrite your story. We all live by patterns, invisible behaviors that guide what we think, how we react, and how we use time. But here's the secret. The poor chase comfort. The rich chase growth. The poor wait to feel ready. The rich act even when they're afraid. The poor spend to impress. The rich invest to multiply. The poor talk about what's fair. The rich focus on what's possible. These differences seem small, almost invisible day to day, but over months, years, decades, they form an unbridgeable gap. It's not about where you start. It's about what you repeat. This audiobook is not another motivational speech. It's a manual for transformation. In the chapters ahead, you'll learn why the rich think differently, move differently, and build momentum in silence while others talk about trying. You'll discover the habits that quietly build power, wealth, and freedom, and the invisible traps that keep ordinary people stuck in cycles of exhaustion and lack. This is about rewiring your approach to money, work, and time itself. Because until your habits change, nothing changes. And once they do, everything does. You're about to see the game for what it really is, and once you see it, you can never unsee it. So take a breath. Reset your focus. You're not listening to just another audiobook. You're listening to a blueprint that can rebuild your future from the inside out. Welcome to Rich Habits, Poor Habits, Why the Rich Keep Winning. Let's begin. Chapter 1. The Hidden Power of Daily Patterns. Every morning, the world resets. Everyone wakes up with the same 24 hours. But somehow, some people end the day with progress, while others end it with excuses. Why? Because your life is not shaped by what you intend to do. It's shaped by what you repeatedly do. You can dream about wealth, pray for freedom, visualize success all you want. But if your habits don't match your goals, you'll stay stuck where you are. Let me tell you something that most people don't realize until it's too late. Success doesn't happen in big moments. It happens in micro decisions. It's what you choose to do when no one's watching that decides everything about your future. The invisible patterns that rule your life. If I followed you for a week, I wouldn't need to ask what your dreams are. I'd just watch your habits. Because your habits always tell the truth. If you wake up late, scroll your phone for an hour, complain about your job, and spend without tracking, you've already made the decision to stay broke. You just don't know it yet. Meanwhile, someone else wakes up early, plans their day, reads, learns, invests, and acts with intention, and you call them lucky. They're not lucky. They're consistent. The truth is, both of you are consistent, just in opposite directions. The rich and the poor have one thing in common. They're both creatures of habit. The difference is what they repeat. The compound effect of habits. Here's what's fascinating. Habits compound silently. They don't shout. They don't show immediate results. But they're building or destroying your future every day. Skip the gym today? No big deal. Do it every day for 6 months? You'll feel it. Spend $20 on junk daily? Seems harmless. Do it for a year. That's $7,300 gone. Wake up late every morning? Not a problem until it becomes your identity. The rich understand the law of compound behavior. They know that success isn't built in leaps, but in inches. It's the tiny, often boring routines that separate greatness from mediocrity. They understand that you don't rise to your goals. You fall to your habits. Why the poor stay poor? Poor habits feel good now, but cost you later. Rich habits cost you now, but reward you later. The poor spend their energy chasing instant gratification, the next dopamine hit, the next impulse purchase, the next weekend distraction. The rich delay gratification. They're not chasing pleasure. They're building leverage. A poor person will say, I deserve to relax after work. A rich person says, I'll relax after I've built something that frees me from this job. A poor person will say, I'll start saving when I earn more. A rich person says, I'll save so I can earn more. The poor justify their comfort. The rich justify their growth. Every decision moves you closer to one of those mindsets. The rituals of the rich. Let's go deeper. What do the rich actually do differently every single day? They plan. They don't just drift through life reacting. They set intentions the night before. They learn, not from gossip, not from social media trends, from books, courses, mentors, and real-world results. They invest, not just money, energy, time, and focus into high-return actions. They reflect. They measure progress, adjust course, and double down where momentum is building. And perhaps most importantly, they protect their mornings. The first hour of the day decides who controls the rest of it. While most people wake up reacting, answering notifications, checking messages, the rich start proactively. They spend their first hour in clarity, planning, visualizing, and preparing their mindset. They know that a distracted mind produces a distracted life. The trap of someday thinking. One of the most dangerous habits of the poor is the habit of delay. They always say, someday I'll start. But someday is not a day on the calendar. They wait for motivation. They wait for opportunity. They wait for the perfect time, not realizing that time itself is slipping away. The rich don't wait. They start where they are with what they have. They don't say, I'll begin when I feel ready. They say, I'll begin so I become ready. That's the difference between people who talk about success and people who live it. If you keep postponing change until it feels comfortable, you'll die waiting. From intention to identity. Let's get practical. If you want to build rich habits, stop focusing on what to do and start focusing on who to become. Don't say, I want to save money. Say, I'm the kind of person who manages money wisely. Don't say, I want to work out. Say, I'm the kind of person who takes care of their energy. Identity drives consistency. When you start thinking like the person you want to be, your actions naturally align. That's why the rich keep winning. They've built an identity around discipline, growth, and excellence. For them, success isn't a goal. It's a reflection of who they are. Reprogramming your habits. You can start this transformation today. Here's how. Audit your day. Write down how you spend your time. Every hour. Every action. You can't fix what you don't see. Identify the leaks. What do you waste time, money, or energy? Cut one of those habits immediately. Replace, don't remove. Don't just stop bad habits. Replace them with better ones. Replace scrolling with reading. Replace complaining with strategizing. Start small, stay consistent. The rich don't build massive change overnight. They stack small wins. Remember, consistency beats intensity every time. Protect your environment. Your habits reflect your surroundings. If you stay around lazy people, you'll normalize laziness. Surround yourself with doers, not dreamers. The law of inertia. Here's one last principle that will change how you see success forever. Objects in motion stay in motion. Objects at rest stay at rest. This is true for your body, your business, and your bank account. Once you build momentum through small, daily disciplines, you become unstoppable. But if you stay still, even a small task will feel impossible. The poor live in a state of mental inertia, waiting for energy, waiting for clarity, waiting for something external to push them. The rich generate momentum from within. They don't need to be pushed. They've built the habit of pushing themselves. And that is why they keep winning. Your first assignment. You can't build wealth without self-awareness. So before you move on to the next chapter, ask yourself this. What 3 habits are silently keeping me broke? What 3 new habits could change my trajectory this year? Write them down. Because awareness without action is just entertainment. The difference between rich and poor begins and ends in your daily patterns. Tomorrow morning, your clock will reset again. The question is, will you? Chapter 2, Mindset Over Money, the Hidden Code of the Wealthy. Before we talk about earning more, we have to talk about thinking differently. Because no amount of money will fix a poor mindset. You could hand someone $1 million today, and if their thinking hasn't changed, they'll lose it all within a year. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your beliefs. Wealth begins long before money arrives. It begins in the invisible patterns of how you see yourself, how you interpret opportunity, and how you respond to risk. That's what separates the rich from everyone else. It's not just what they do. It's how they think. The inner blueprint. Every person has an inner blueprint, a subconscious financial thermostat that decides how much wealth they'll allow themselves to keep. If you secretly believe you're not worthy of abundance, you'll sabotage it. If you were raised around struggle and taught that money is hard to get, your brain will work tirelessly to prove that belief true. You'll find ways to fail, even when success is within reach. The rich understand this truth. You cannot outperform your self-image. If your mind is programmed for survival, you'll never act like someone built for freedom. So before you fix your wallet, you must fix your wiring. The scarcity trap. Let's talk about scarcity. Scarcity isn't the absence of resources, it's the absence of belief. It's a mindset that says there's not enough to go around. Scarcity makes you fearful, defensive, and reactive. It makes you hoard instead of invest. It convinces you that someone else's success means less for you. And that's why scarcity keeps people broke. Because when you believe in limitation, you create it. The rich don't think in scarcity, they think in abundance. They don't see competition, they see collaboration. They don't focus on what's missing, they focus on what's possible. A poor mindset asks, can I afford this? A rich mindset asks, how can I afford this? That small shift turns every problem into a puzzle, and every obstacle into an opportunity. How the rich think differently. Here's what most people miss. The rich don't chase money, they chase value. Money is a side effect of solving valuable problems. The poor see money as the goal. The rich see money as feedback, a reflection of how much value they've created. When a poor person gets money, they look for comfort. When a rich person gets money, they look for leverage. That's why the rich keep winning. They use their resources to create systems that multiply effort, not replace it. Poor people think linearly. I work, I earn. Rich people think exponentially. I build, I scale. And the difference starts with mindset. Reprogramming the wealth code. How do you start thinking like the wealthy? Step 1. Detach your identity from your current situation. You are not your bank balance. You are not your job title. You are the thinker behind both. And thinkers can reprogram their reality. If you keep saying, I'm broke, your brain will find ways to confirm it. If you start saying, I'm learning how to manage and multiply money, your brain begins looking for opportunities that fit that belief. This isn't wishful thinking, it's neuroscience. Your mind filters billions of bits of information every second, but it only notices what aligns with your dominant beliefs. If you believe you can't win, you'll overlook every open door. If you believe you're destined for more, you'll start recognizing patterns others can't see. The rich train their minds to look for leverage. They expect opportunity, and expectation directs attention. That's why two people can stand in the same situation, and one will find gold while the other sees dirt. Failure. The poor man's fear, the rich man's fuel. Here's a key mindset shift. The poor fear failure. The rich expect it. Failure doesn't discourage them, it educates them. When a poor person fails, they say, this didn't work. I'm not cut out for this. When a rich person fails, they say, that method didn't work. Let's try another one. See the difference? One views failure as identity. The other views it as data. That's why rich people move faster. They learn faster. Every mistake becomes a map. Every rejection becomes redirection. If you want to join their league, you must reframe failure as feedback. Because the truth is this. You can't grow if you're afraid to be bad at something new. From employee thinking to entrepreneur thinking. You don't need to own a business to think like an entrepreneur. You just need to think like an owner. Poor thinking says, it's not my responsibility. Rich thinking says, everything is my responsibility. Poor thinking waits for permission. Rich thinking creates permission. An employee mindset trades time for security. An entrepreneurial mindset trades skill for scalability. Even within a job, the rich thinker acts like they own the process. They don't just show up, they build systems, improve workflows, and learn how value is created. Eventually, those same habits make them invaluable or make them independent. And that's the real power of mindset. It doesn't just change your income. It changes your trajectory. The 4 mental shifts that build wealth. Let's break it down into 4 practical mindset shifts you can begin today. From consumer to creator. Stop asking, what can I get? And start asking, what can I give? Wealth flows to those who create. From victim to visionary. Stop blaming the economy, the system, or your past. The rich never outsource control. They adapt, pivot, and move. From scarcity to abundance. Focus on possibilities, not limitations. There's enough for everyone, if you're willing to work smarter. From comfort to growth. Growth feels uncomfortable. That's the point. The rich don't chase comfort. They build capability. If you master these 4 shifts, your outer world will start to follow your inner one. The wealth thermostat. Imagine your mind as a thermostat. You've been programmed to stay within a certain temperature of comfort, a financial comfort zone. If life gets too cold, bills pile up, opportunities disappear. You'll hustle to warm it back up. But if it gets too hot, you earn more than you're used to, you'll subconsciously sabotage it until things feel normal again. That's why lottery winners go broke. Their external income changed, but their internal thermostat stayed low. The rich keep upgrading their thermostat. They keep raising their standards, not just their salaries. They don't say, I hope I can maintain this. They say, this is my new baseline. Now, let's expand it. The goal isn't to earn more money. It's to become the kind of person who naturally attracts, manages, and multiplies it. The mental diet of the rich. Your mind becomes what it consumes. The rich are careful about their mental diet. They feed on knowledge, strategy, and inspiration, not drama, fear, and distraction. They spend hours learning from those ahead of them. They invest in mentors, books, and courses because they understand one powerful truth. The more you learn, the less you fear. Meanwhile, the poor spend hours feeding on outrage, gossip, and comparison. They think they're staying informed, but really, they're being programmed. If you want to think like the rich, change what you consume. Because your inputs create your insights, and your insights guide your income. Becoming a wealth thinker. Thinking like the wealthy isn't about arrogance or greed. It's about adopting a mindset of possibility, discipline, and ownership. It's seeing problems as solvable. It's believing that no matter where you start, you can pivot your life through clarity and consistency. Start by studying patterns, not people. Instead of saying, I want to be like them, say, what are they doing differently? Observe how they speak, how they plan, how they make decisions. Then, apply one of those traits in your own life every day. The difference between you and the wealthy isn't potential. It's practice. Your reflection exercise. Pause here. Grab a notebook and write your answers honestly. What are the top 3 limiting beliefs I've inherited about money? Who taught me those beliefs? And are they truly successful? What would I have to believe instead to create the life I want? Now, reframe each limiting belief into an empowering one. Example, old belief, money is hard to get. New belief, money flows to me as I create value. Do this every day for 30 days, and you'll literally start rewiring your financial mindset. Money follows mindset. It always has, and it always will. If you think like the wealthy, you'll start acting like them. And when your actions align with abundance, wealth has no choice but to follow. That's the hidden code of the rich. Chapter 3. The Power of Environment. How your surroundings program your success. You can't outgrow your environment. No matter how ambitious, talented, or disciplined you are, if you live, think, and breathe in a space that doesn't match your future, it will quietly pull you back into your past. The truth is, your environment is more powerful than your willpower. Think of it like this. Every day you're being programmed. The people around you, the sounds you hear, the conversations you entertain, the spaces you walk into, they're all shaping the limits of what feels normal. If mediocrity feels normal, you'll unconsciously drift toward it. If excellence feels normal, you'll rise to meet it. The rich understand this, and they guard their environments like a sacred temple. They know that energy is contagious, that discipline is influenced, and that mindset is absorbed. They don't hang around victims and expect to think like visionaries. They don't spend hours scrolling through other people's lives and expect to build their own empire. Instead, they curate their world like architects, intentionally designing spaces, relationships, and routines that serve their goals. The poor, on the other hand, often underestimate this law. They say things like, "It doesn't matter who I'm around, I know who I am." But environment always wins. Put a positive mind in a toxic space for long enough, and that mind will bend to survive. The air you breathe becomes the thoughts you think. Take a look at your life right now. The place you live, the people you text most often, the shows you watch, the music you play when you're alone, the places you hang out. Every one of those is a signal, a message your subconscious is listening to 24/7. And it's asking one simple question: is this my level? If your environment screams average, your brain will self-regulate to fit in. You'll start lowering your goals to avoid standing out. You'll hesitate to take big actions because your surroundings don't support big thinking. That's why rich people invest heavily in their environment, not just physically, but mentally and socially. They build offices that inspire focus. They fill their homes with books, not noise. They choose friends who challenge their excuses, not comfort them. It's not arrogance, it's protection. They're protecting their mindset from decay. The poor see this as acting better than others. But that's a misunderstanding. The rich simply understand that success has an atmosphere. You cannot expect to thrive in a space designed for survival. Here's something powerful. Every environment has its own gravity. Some pull you down, others lift you up. Have you ever noticed how one conversation with the right person can elevate your energy for days? Or how spending an hour with the wrong one can drain you completely? That's environmental gravity in action. The wealthy make sure their daily orbit keeps them in growth mode. So, what do you do if your current environment is holding you back? You don't have to move across the world, but you do have to take control. Start small. Declutter your space. A messy desk equals a messy mind. Organize it until it feels like a workspace that belongs to your future self. Fill your room with reminders of who you're becoming. Vision boards, affirmations, books that challenge your thinking. Your space should whisper your potential every time you walk into it. Then look at your circle. Who drains you? Who feeds you? Who makes you think bigger? Who makes you doubt yourself? Start limiting access to those who pull you off course. You don't owe anyone your energy just because you've known them a long time. If they can't grow with you, they can't go with you. Next, upgrade your digital environment. Unfollow negativity. Stop consuming junk information. Every scroll either builds your focus or breaks it. Follow people who teach, who inspire, who live at the level you're aiming for. Let your online world reflect your desired reality, not your current struggle. And finally, create microenvironments of success. If you can't find a community that lifts you, build one. Start meeting once a week with people chasing goals. Join a mastermind. Attend workshops. Go where ambition breathes. The truth is, wealth doesn't grow in random soil. It grows in fertile ground, a space where ideas are watered, not mocked. The difference between rich and poor habits often starts with this. Rich people take their environment seriously. Poor people think they can willpower their way out of mediocrity. But here's the secret. Your environment is your willpower. It either works for you or against you. So if you want to change your future, don't start with your bank account. Start with your atmosphere. Clean your space. Guard your peace. Upgrade your circle. And watch how fast your mindset and your money start to follow. Because the truth is simple. If you stay where you are, you'll stay who you are. But when you change what's around you, everything inside you starts to rise. That's the power of environment. And it's one of the richest habits you'll ever master. Chapter 4. Time Rich versus Time Poor. how the wealthy control their hours. From Rich Habits, Poor Habits. Why the Rich Keep Winning by Imperium Audiobooks. Time is the great equalizer. 24 hours in a day, 7 days a week. The difference between rich and poor isn't time itself, but what they do with it. The poor spend time. The rich invest it. It's one of the simplest yet most misunderstood truths about success. Wealth isn't built in the hours you work. It's built in how those hours are structured, protected, and multiplied. Every rich person you know has mastered one art above all others: time allocation. They understand that once you control your hours, you control your life. The average person wakes up reacting. They scroll their phone before their brain has even warmed up. They jump into other people's priorities, messages, news, notifications. They move through the day busy but not productive, exhausted but not fulfilled. By nightfall, they've done a lot but built nothing. Their hours were consumed by noise. The wealthy do the opposite. They treat time as a sacred asset. Every morning, their first thought isn't, "What do I need to do today?" but rather, "What will move me closer to my vision today?" That single question separates builders from wanderers. It's how ordinary people stay stuck in cycles, and how achievers create empires. Time-poor people confuse activity with progress. They feel accomplished because they're busy, but busyness is the illusion of productivity. It's motion without direction, like running on a treadmill and thinking you're traveling the world. Time-rich people don't chase activity. They chase results. They think in systems, leverage, and priority. Here's something powerful. Every yes is a no to something else. When you say yes to distractions, you're saying no to your destiny. Every minute has an opportunity cost, and the poor rarely calculate it. They trade golden hours for comfort, cheap entertainment, or unplanned chaos. The rich measure every commitment against their vision. That's why you'll hear them say things like, "I don't have time for that." It's not arrogance, it's stewardship. They protect their schedule because they know time is wealth in disguise. Let's get practical. There are 4 currencies you can spend in a day: time, energy, attention, and money. Most people spend the first 3 to chase the last one. The wealthy do the opposite. They use money to buy back time, energy, and focus. They delegate, automate, and systemize. They don't mow their own lawns or waste an afternoon fixing what someone else can fix faster. They understand the multiplier effect of time, that freeing 1 hour can generate hundreds later. Think about it like chess. A pawn moves 1 square. A queen moves freely across the board. Time-poor people live like pawns. Every move is reactive, every choice limited. Time-rich people think like queens. They position themselves strategically, anticipating moves before they happen. Here's where the shift begins. Stop managing time and start mastering priorities. You can't manage what you haven't defined. You need to know what truly matters, your top 3 outcomes per day. When everything is urgent, nothing is important. That's why successful people use systems like time blocking, carving out hours of pure, uninterrupted focus on what builds the future. They treat those blocks like meetings with destiny, non-negotiable. No calls, no distractions, no multitasking. They know that multitasking is just faster procrastination. And here's a truth few admit. Being busy is often a form of avoidance. When you fill your schedule with low-value tasks, you get the comfort of motion without the fear of impact. You feel like you're working, but you're actually hiding from what matters most. The rich face the hard work head-on. They do what moves the needle first, even if it's uncomfortable, especially if it's uncomfortable. Time-poor people say, "I'll do it when I have time." Time-rich people say, "I'll make time," because time is never found. It's created through discipline and boundaries. Here's a challenge. Audit your last 7 days. Every hour. Where did your time really go? How much of it built your dream versus maintained your distractions? Be brutally honest. The truth might sting, but it's the sting that wakes you up. Then, design your ideal day. Not a fantasy, but a framework. One that reflects the life you're building, not the one you're escaping. Morning routines that sharpen your focus. Work blocks that compound results. Evenings that restore your energy. The goal isn't to fill every hour, it's to own them. Because here's the paradox. When you start owning your time, you actually experience more freedom, not less. You move from chaos to clarity, from exhaustion to alignment, from working for money to letting time work for you. The truth is, time is wealth's ultimate test. Anyone can earn money, if you can master time. But when you do, money follows, naturally, quietly, inevitably. So don't just work hard. Work wisely. Don't just spend time. Multiply it. Because in the end, the poor lose time chasing money, and the rich gain money by valuing time. Chapter 5. The Mindset of Ownership. Thinking like a builder, not a worker. From Rich Habits, Poor Habits. Why the Rich Keep Winning by Imperium Audiobooks. If there's one shift that changes everything, one mental rewiring that separates the wealthy from the struggling, it's this. The rich think like owners, the poor think like workers. This isn't about job titles. It's about identity. Ownership is a mindset, a way of seeing yourself as the creator of your outcomes, not the victim of your circumstances. The poor habitually say, I have to. The rich say, I choose to. That one phrase changes your relationship with everything. Your time, your effort, your money, your destiny. A worker mindset asks, what do I get for my time? An owner mindset asks, what can I build with my time? See the difference? One trades effort for income. The other multiplies effort into assets. One clocks in and out. The other plants seeds that grow while they sleep. The first focuses on survival, making enough to live. The second focuses on expansion, building enough to never worry again. Let's get brutally honest. Most people are programmed to think like employees from birth. School trains us to follow instructions, not question systems. Society rewards obedience, not innovation. We're taught to seek safety, not growth. To avoid mistakes instead of learning from them. But ownership requires unlearning that entire script. Here's the truth. If you only ever work for money, you'll always be tired. You'll always be trading your life for temporary relief. That's not freedom. That's a disguised form of slavery. The rich know this. They don't chase money. They chase leverage. They create things that make money work for them. Businesses, systems, investments, intellectual property. These are the true vehicles of wealth. But here's what people miss. Ownership doesn't start when you have capital. It starts with responsibility. You can be broke and still think like an owner. It means owning your habits, your results, your reactions, your attitude. When something goes wrong, the worker blames, the owner adjusts. The worker says, it's not fair. The owner says, what can I do about it? The world bends to people who take responsibility for their outcomes. That's why they're trusted, respected, and eventually rewarded. Because ownership builds trust, and trust builds opportunity. Let's get practical. If you're working for someone right now, fine, but stop thinking like you work for them. Think like you work with them. Ask yourself, if this business were mine, what would I improve? What would I do differently? When you start thinking like that, you stop being an employee and start being an asset. That's how promotions, raises, and partnerships happen. That's how leaders are born. Not because they demand authority, but because they take responsibility before it's handed to them. Ownership is contagious. It changes how you move through the world. You stop waiting for opportunities, you create them. You stop needing motivation because purpose takes over. You stop being scared of failure because every mistake becomes data, not defeat. You know why the rich keep winning? Because even when they lose, they still own the loss. They study it, dissect it, and use it as fuel. The poor fear loss so much that they avoid risk altogether. And by avoiding risk, they avoid reward. There's a saying, if you don't pay the price for discipline, you'll pay the price for regret. The rich choose the first payment. It hurts now, but it compounds later. The poor choose the second. It feels easy now, but it drains them forever. The owner mindset sees everything as a build. Their health, their relationships, their business. Nothing is random. Every action is an investment in the future self. And that's why rich people often appear calm when chaos hits, because they've built systems, not sandcastles. They own structures that keep working even when they can't. If you want to shift into ownership, start with 3 principles. 1. extreme responsibility. Everything is your fault. Not because it actually is, but because acting like it is gives you power. You can't control what you don't claim. 2. Vision before action. Workers react. Owners plan. Every day, know where you're going. Have a vision so clear it becomes your filter for every decision. 3. Build, don't just earn. Every project should lead to something that outlasts your effort. A system, a skill, a structure, or a stream. Because the real goal isn't to get rich working. It's to get rich building. Ownership is the bridge between surviving and thriving. Between watching wealth and creating it. Between waiting for change and becoming the change. So from this moment forward, stop saying, "That's not my job." Start saying, "That's my opportunity." Because when you think like an owner long enough, the universe will eventually hand you ownership, not just of money, but of your entire life. Chapter 6. The Company You Keep. Networks that shape net worth. From Rich Habits, Poor Habits. Why the Rich Keep Winning by Imperium Audiobooks. You've heard the saying before, "Show me your friends, and I'll show you your future." It's cliché, but it's also the rawest truth you'll ever face. Because success is never built in isolation. It's built in proximity to vision, to energy, to momentum. Wealthy people don't just have networks. They have ecosystems. Every relationship in their life either adds value, builds leverage, or expands perspective. They don't collect people. They cultivate alliances. The poor often underestimate this principle. They hang out based on comfort, not alignment. They build relationships around history, not destiny. They spend time with people who make them feel safe, not people who make them grow. But safety doesn't build wealth. Pressure does. Exposure does. Conversation does. You can't think like a millionaire while surrounded by people who complain about opportunity. You can't stay inspired while listening to people who have settled for survival. Your circle sets your standards, and your standards set your ceiling. Here's something you'll notice about the rich. They're intentional about proximity. They will pay to be in the right room. They'll fly across the world for one conversation that shifts perspective. They understand that one relationship can do more than a year of hustle. Because success, at its core, is transferred through association. Spend enough time around people who win, and their language becomes your language. Their urgency becomes your urgency. Their thinking becomes your thinking. It's subconscious, but it's powerful. That's why the wealthy protect their environment so fiercely. They're not antisocial, they're selective. They know that energy is contagious, and mediocrity spreads faster than ambition. The poor, however, think networking is transactional. What can I get from this person? That's not how it works. The rich approach relationships with value first. They ask, what can I give? What can I contribute? How can I elevate this person? And that's why doors open for them. Because value builds trust, and trust builds access. Let's get practical. If your current circle isn't stretching you, it's shrinking you. You need people who make you uncomfortable in the best way. People whose presence makes you raise your game. If you're the smartest in your group, you're in the wrong group. Here's what wealthy people do differently. 1. They audit their circle regularly. They ask, who feeds my focus and who feeds my fear? They cut noise ruthlessly. If someone constantly complains, gossips, or plays the victim, they're gone. 2. They build strategic relationships. They're not trying to be liked, they're trying to grow. They spend time with mentors, investors, builders, thinkers, people who are 2, 5, or 10 levels ahead. They understand that wisdom compounds through exposure. 3. They invest in community. They don't just hang out, they collaborate. They join masterminds, networks, and events. They know that being in the right room isn't luck, it's leverage. And here's something most miss. The right relationships don't just make you richer. They make you sharper, calmer, more disciplined. You start normalizing excellence. What once seemed impossible becomes your baseline. But to attract that kind of circle, you must first become that kind of person. You can't expect high-value people to connect deeply with low-energy behavior. You must elevate your frequency, your discipline, your mindset, your habits, until you naturally align with people operating on that same level. Stop trying to fit in with mediocrity. Let your growth make others uncomfortable. If they fall away, let them. That's not loss, that's pruning. Growth requires space. There's a quiet truth wealthy people live by. I'd rather be alone than surrounded by the wrong crowd. They understand that isolation in the right season is not loneliness, it's preparation. Sometimes you have to outgrow your circle before you meet your tribe. When you start changing, your old circle won't understand. They'll say, "You've changed," and they'll be right. But you're not changing for them. You're changing for your future. Because your future doesn't care about loyalty to your past. Your net worth is a mirror of your network. Not because of status, but because of standards. Surround yourself with builders. People who talk ideas, not gossip. Who see potential, not problems. Who push you toward purpose, not distraction. Because when you run with winners, something happens. Your excuses can't keep up. So, look at your circle. Ask yourself, does this environment feed my growth or starve it? And if the answer is no, then it's time to move quietly, deliberately, unapologetically. Because if you want to win like the rich, you can't keep walking with those who are comfortable losing. That's the truth behind every success story you've ever admired. The company you keep decides the company you become. Chapter 7: Money Behavior. The Psychology of Spending, Saving, and Growing Wealth. From Rich Habits, Poor Habits. Why the Rich Keep Winning by Imperium Audiobooks. Wealth doesn't start with a bank account. It starts with behavior. Because the truth is, money doesn't change who you are, it amplifies who you already are. If you're reckless broke, you'll be reckless rich. If you're disciplined broke, you'll be powerful rich. That's why poor habits keep people trapped. Not a lack of income, but a lack of awareness. The wealthy understand one simple rule. You don't earn your way to wealth. You behave your way there. 1. Spending. The rich spend with purpose. The poor spend for validation. The rich don't spend to impress. They spend to express strategy. Every purchase has a purpose, utility, growth, or peace of mind. They see money as a tool, not a trophy. Meanwhile, the poor spend emotionally. They buy things to look successful instead of to become successful. They chase image over assets, dopamine over dividends. When a rich person makes money, they ask, how can I multiply this? When a poor person makes money, they ask, what can I buy? One builds leverage, the other builds liabilities. Here's a hard truth. If you're buying to look rich, you're broadcasting that you're not. Because the real wealthy don't need validation. Their peace is the flex. Their assets are the applause. Before every purchase, ask yourself, does this increase my freedom or reduce it? Because every swipe, every transaction, every treat myself moment is a seed, either for freedom or for debt. 2. Saving. The rich save to invest, the poor save to feel safe. There's a huge difference between saving money and saving mentality. Poor people save to survive. They stash just enough to feel safe, then slowly drain it away. The rich, on the other hand, save with purpose. Their savings have assignments: to invest, to compound, to acquire. They don't park money. They deploy it. Here's what wealthy people understand. Money sitting idle is money dying quietly. Inflation eats it. Fear freezes it. Opportunity avoids it. But money that's working through assets, through ventures, through cash flow becomes alive. It becomes a silent employee, earning even while you sleep. The rich aren't misers. They're managers. They know that hoarding doesn't create wealth, motion does. So stop asking, how much can I save? And start asking, how can I make my savings move? 3. Growing. The rich study money. The poor escape it. Here's the real gap between rich and poor: financial literacy. The rich obsess over understanding how money moves. They study taxes, leverage, markets, and psychology, not because they're bored, but because they know ignorance is expensive. The poor, on the other hand, treat money like a monster under the bed, something to fear, not to understand. They avoid looking at their accounts, avoid planning, avoid numbers. But avoidance is how money controls you. Rich people track every flow. They look at numbers not emotionally, but strategically. They don't see money as stressful. They see it as feedback. Every dollar tells a story, where it came from, where it went, and whether it's working for or against you. And the wealthy read that story daily. They know this game isn't about how much you earn. It's about how much you keep, how wisely you move it, and how intentionally you grow it. 4. Mindset shift from consumer to creator. This is the ultimate transformation. Poor habits make you a consumer. You wait for opportunities, you spend what you earn, and you rely on others to provide value. Rich habits make you a creator. You design opportunities, you build systems, and you let value generate income. That's why the wealthy talk about ownership, not wages. They own assets that earn, businesses, real estate, intellectual property, equity. They don't trade hours for money. They trade strategy for freedom. If you want to cross that line, from consumer to creator, start with one question. What can I build that earns while I rest? It could be digital. It could be physical. It could be intellectual. But whatever it is, build something that works harder than you do. Because real wealth isn't about having more money. It's about needing less effort. 5. Final lesson. Mastering money means mastering self. You can't control markets, inflation, or governments. But you can control your habits, your mindset, your spending, your focus. And that's enough to rewrite your financial future. Because wealth isn't a lucky break. It's a behavioral blueprint. If you think differently, you act differently. If you act differently, you earn differently. And when you earn differently, you live differently. So, here's the blueprint in one sentence. Manage your behavior, and your bank account will follow. Because in the end, money doesn't respond to hustle. It responds to habits. Chapter 8. The Daily Disciplines of Millionaires. Routines that create results. From Rich Habits, Poor Habits. Why the Rich Keep Winning by Imperium Audiobooks. Let's get something straight. Success isn't built in a day. It's built daily. Most people think wealth is a single event, a big idea, a lucky investment, a viral moment. But that's the illusion. Wealth doesn't come from one massive breakthrough. It comes from hundreds of tiny, deliberate decisions repeated until they become second nature. Millionaires don't wait for motivation. They build systems that make success automatic. And once those systems are in place, momentum becomes their greatest ally. The truth is, discipline outperforms desire. And that's the difference between those who dream of wealth and those who build it. 1. The Morning Blueprint. How winners start the day. Before the world wakes up, the rich are already in motion. They treat mornings like sacred ground. Not because of some Instagram cliche, but because the first 60 minutes shape the next 16 hours. While most people roll over and reach for their phones, millionaires reach for silence, focus, and clarity. Here's a typical wealthy person's morning formula. Silence before noise. 10 minutes of stillness, prayer, meditation, breathing, whatever grounds them. Movement before comfort. Exercise, even light. It's not about fitness, it's about focus. Movement activates discipline. Vision before distraction. Reading, journaling, affirmations, goal-checking. The first thoughts of your day program your brain for action. They don't hope for a good day, they engineer it. Because a scattered morning creates a scattered mind. But a focused start gives birth to focused results. 2. The work habit. Consistency over intensity. Millionaires aren't working 20-hour days. That's a myth. They work intensely focused hours, then rest strategically. They understand that money doesn't come from motion. It comes from meaningful motion. From high-value tasks, not endless busyness. Every morning, they ask themselves, what's the one thing I can do today that moves me closer to my ultimate goal? Then they prioritize that before anything else. No scrolling, no distractions, no drama. The poor multitask, the rich laser focus. They don't chase everything. They chase the right thing until it yields results. And here's the paradox. The more disciplined you are, the freer you become. Because when your day is structured, your success stops depending on your mood. 3. The learning loop, daily self-upgrade. Every millionaire is a student, not of school, but of results. They learn through reading, through mentorship, through failure. But most importantly, they learn daily. The average millionaire reads 30 to 60 minutes a day, not just for entertainment, but for evolution. They feed their minds with new ideas, new strategies, new perspectives, because they know that what you feed your mind becomes the future you live in. Knowledge is leverage, and in the new economy, leverage is wealth. So, make this your non-negotiable. Every day, learn something that sharpens your earning power. It could be financial education, communication, psychology, marketing, leadership. The skills that build wealth aren't random, they're learnable. You can't out-earn your ignorance, but you can outgrow it. 4. The network code: connect with intention. Millionaires know that proximity is power. They don't network for popularity, they network for purpose. They build relationships that expand perspective, opportunities, and accountability. Here's how the rich connect differently. They add value before they ask for value. They seek mentors, not applause. They stay in rooms where they feel small, because that's where growth happens. If you're always the smartest person in your circle is too small. You need people who stretch your thinking, challenge your excuses, and demand your best. Wealth isn't just built through effort, it's built through environment. And your environment is either your engine or your anchor. 5. The evening reset: reflection, gratitude, and strategy. The rich end their day with the same intentionality they started it. They review what worked, what didn't, and what needs adjusting. They don't go to sleep with chaos. They close their mental tabs. A quick evening formula: reflect. What did I execute well today? Learn what slowed me down. Plan what's tomorrow's number one focus. And then they disconnect. No work, no comparison, no stress loops. Because rest isn't a reward, it's a weapon. You can't think clearly if your mind never resets. That's why the rich protect their peace like they protect their profits. 6. Final note: discipline is a love language to your future self. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, your future self gets stronger. Every time you show up when it's boring, you build the muscle that makes freedom possible. Wealth doesn't come from luck, timing, or talent. It comes from habits that compound like interest. Because when you master your days, you master your destiny. And when your habits align with your goals, success becomes inevitable, not optional. So, remember, the rich don't win because they're lucky. They win because they repeat what works, even when no one's watching. Chapter 9. The Wealth Traps: why most people stay stuck. From Rich Habits, Poor Habits: Why the Rich Keep Winning by Imperium Audiobooks. Let's be brutally honest. Most people don't fail because they're lazy. They fail because they're trapped. Trapped in patterns. Trapped in comfort. Trapped in mindsets that make mediocrity feel like safety. And here's the sad part: these traps don't announce themselves. They disguise as normal life. They look harmless. They sound reasonable. But slowly, quietly, they kill your ambition and chain you to an average existence. If you're ever going to break free and build real wealth, you must learn to see these traps for what they are: illusions that keep you broken mindset, even when you earn more. 1. The income trap: earning without growing. This is the most common one. You start making money, and suddenly, you feel successful. You move to a better house, upgrade your phone, maybe even buy that car you've been dreaming about. But then, your lifestyle inflates. Your expenses rise as fast as your income. And before long, you're back where you started. This is the income illusion. You're earning more, but keeping nothing. Rich people don't chase higher income. They chase higher margins. They focus on profit, not paychecks. The poor increase expenses to match income. The rich increase assets to multiply income. Every time you get a raise or a new deal, ask yourself, how much of this can I keep? How can I make this money earn for me? Because if your spending grows faster than your discipline, you're not progressing. You're just decorating your cage. 2. The comfort trap: mistaking safety for success. Comfort is the slowest poison in the world. It doesn't destroy you immediately. It numbs you quietly. It whispers, relax, you've done enough. You're not like them. You could take a break. And little by little, you stop reaching, stop improving, stop growing. The rich know something the poor forget. Growth feels uncomfortable by design. If you're too comfortable, you're not growing, you're decaying. Success isn't found in safety, it's found in stretch. Every millionaire you admire has a story of discomfort, discipline, and risk. So if you're always chasing ease, you'll always miss excellence. Ask yourself, where have I stopped pushing myself because it feels uncomfortable? That's exactly where your next level hides. 3. The comparison trap. Losing focus to envy. Social media has made everyone look rich and no one feel enough. You scroll and see the highlight reels, vacations, designer outfits, luxury cars, and suddenly your progress feels small. But remember this, you're comparing your behind the scenes to someone else's front stage. And that's how you lose your peace, your gratitude, and your drive. The rich don't compare, they calculate. They're too busy competing with their previous selves to care about someone else's numbers. You can't chase purpose if you're obsessed with appearances. And you can't build wealth if your worth depends on validation. So mute the noise. Focus on your lane. And understand that envy is just misplaced admiration. Redirect it into action. 4. The debt trap. Borrowing for image, not income. Debt can be a ladder or a trap. It depends on how you use it. The poor use debt to look rich. The rich use debt to become richer. There's good debt, the kind that buys assets, creates cash flow, builds leverage. And there's bad debt, the kind that buys validation, depreciates fast, and enslaves you. Every credit card swipe should have a return on investment, not just a return on emotion. If what you're buying won't make or save you money, it's not an investment. It's a liability wearing luxury's mask. Financial freedom doesn't come from avoiding debt. It comes from mastering it. Use debt like a tool, with intention, precision, and purpose. 5. The time trap. Confusing activity with productivity. You could be busy all day and still be broke. The poor equate motion with progress. They work long hours, fill their days, and feel productive. Yet at the end of the month, nothing's changed. The rich focus on leverage. They don't ask, how can I do more? They ask, how can I make more happen with less effort? They delegate, automate, and prioritize. They understand that the goal isn't to stay busy, it's to stay effective. If your calendar is always full but your bank account is always empty, it's time to redefine work. Ask yourself, what's my highest value activity today? Then protect it like your life depends on it, because your future does. 6. The mindset trap. Thinking small in a big world. The poorest person in the world isn't the one without money. It's the one without vision. Most people stay broke because they never outgrow their limited beliefs. They think wealth is only for the lucky, the gifted, or the connected. They never realize that the only real poverty is in the imagination. Every millionaire started with a mental shift. They began to believe differently before they ever earned differently. They replaced I can't with how can I? They stopped asking, what if it fails? And started asking, what if it works? Your mindset is your financial thermostat. No matter how much you earn, you'll always return to the level your beliefs allow. So, if you want to raise your income, raise your internal standard, because your results will never exceed your self-image. 7. The final lesson. Escape is a choice. Here's the truth. Every trap you're in, financial, emotional, or mental, has one exit door, and it's labeled discipline. Discipline to say no to instant pleasure. Discipline to delay gratification. Discipline to learn, apply, and repeat until your habits shift your reality. Wealth isn't luck. It's layers of consistent decisions, made when no one's watching, when it's not glamorous, when it's inconvenient. You don't need a miracle. You need mastery. You don't need more money. You need fewer traps. Because once you master yourself, money becomes the easiest thing to attract. Chapter 10. The Long Game. Building Wealth That Lasts. From Rich Habits, Poor Habits. Why the Rich Keep Winning by Imperium Audiobooks. Anyone can make money once. But true wealth, lasting, generational, unshakable wealth, is a different story. That kind of wealth isn't built by hustling for a few years. It's built by mastering principles that outlive your mood, your job, and even your lifetime. Because the truth is, short-term success is easy. Sustained success takes wisdom. And wisdom is what separates those who rise fast and fall faster from those who rise steadily and stay there. 1. The wealth equation. Time plus consistency plus compounding. If you understand this, you'll never chase quick money again. The poor look for speed. The rich look for scale. They don't want to get rich fast. They want to stay rich forever. They know that money compounds when consistency meets time. One investment, one business, one discipline, done long enough, multiplies quietly behind the scenes. It's not about doubling your income next month. It's about doubling your wisdom every year. Because wisdom compounds faster than money. And once your mind upgrades, your wealth follows. So stop asking, how fast can I get there? And start asking, how far can I go if I never stop? That's how legacies are built, through the power of time working for you, not against you. 2. The asset mindset. Building machines that print freedom. Money comes and goes. Assets stay and grow. That's the golden law of the rich. Every time they earn, they ask, can I turn this income into an asset? Assets are wealth engines. Real estate, stocks, businesses, intellectual property, digital products, systems that make money while you sleep. Poor people spend money on pleasure. Rich people park money in engines. You can't build wealth if all your income depends on your presence. You must create streams, not puddles, of income that flow whether you're working or not. Start small. 1 rental property, 1 online course, 1 side business. Then repeat, refine, and reinvest. The goal isn't to work harder, it's to build smarter. 3. The legacy principle. Thinking beyond your lifetime. Here's something the poor rarely think about. Continuity. The rich don't just build for now, they build for after. They think in decades, not days. Generations, not paychecks. They understand that true wealth isn't what you buy. It's what you build that keeps working when you're gone. That's why they teach their children differently. They talk about money, discipline, risk, and mindset at the dinner table. They raise successors, not spenders. Because wealth without wisdom disappears. But when you pass on principles, the how and the why, your family doesn't just inherit money, they inherit momentum. That's how dynasties are built. 4. The patient strategy. Embracing delayed gratification. Every real builder knows this. There's no shortcut to significance. The world is obsessed with speed, viral success, overnight fame, fast profit. But all those paths collapse just as quickly as they rise. The rich play a longer, quieter, more strategic game. They understand that wealth built slowly stays steady. They're okay with being misunderstood while they build. They're okay with looking boring while they stack. Because they're not chasing attention, they're chasing autonomy. If you want to last, stop sprinting for money and start planting for freedom. Because compounding doesn't just grow numbers, it grows character. 5. The system's secret. Automate your success. The rich don't rely on willpower, they rely on systems. They automate their savings, schedule their investments, and set up habits that run without effort. They know the secret to consistency isn't motivation, it's structure. Automation removes emotion. And when emotion leaves, execution begins. You can't trust feelings to build wealth. Some days you'll be tired, distracted, or doubtful. But if your system doesn't depend on your energy, it just works, then success becomes inevitable. Start small. Automate 10% of your income into investments. Automate reminders for education, reviews, or budgeting. Automate your daily focus. Block out your time. Plan the night before. Because what runs automatically grows exponentially. 6. The purpose factor. Money as a mission tool. Eventually, money stops being the motivation. Because once your bills are paid and your freedom secured, what drives you next? Purpose. The richest people in the world aren't obsessed with profit. They're obsessed with impact. They use their wealth to create change, solve problems, and design futures. Purpose gives wealth meaning. Without it, you'll always feel empty, no matter how full your account is. So, ask yourself, who benefits when I win? Whose life improves because I refuse to quit? That's your legacy. That's what keeps you going long after you could have stopped. 7. The final truth: play long, live free. In the end, wealth isn't just about what you accumulate. It's about who you become in the process. Every late night, every early morning, every hard choice, it all shapes you into someone who doesn't just chase wealth but embodies it. Wealth is discipline made visible. Freedom is focus made permanent. You don't win this game by being fast. You win it by being faithful to your habits, your purpose, your growth. So, keep building even when it's slow. Keep learning even when it's hard. Keep showing up even when no one claps. Because one day, you'll wake up and realize the habits you built quietly are now building the life you once only dreamed of. That's the long game. That's how the rich keep winning. And now, so will you. The blueprint is now yours. From Rich Habits, Poor Habits: Why the Rich Keep Winning by Imperium Audiobooks. Take a deep breath, because what you just listened to isn't just another audiobook. It's a mirror. A mirror that reflects where you are, where you've been, and more importantly, who you can become. The difference between the rich and the poor isn't luck, talent, or timing. It's pattern recognition. It's seeing what doesn't work, replacing it with what does, and having the courage to repeat it daily until your results catch up. You now hold the same blueprint the wealthy live by. And the question is no longer, does it work? Because it does. The question is, will you work it? You see, knowledge is only potential power. The transformation begins when you decide to apply it. Not tomorrow, not one day, but today. Because every day you delay, you reinforce the same habits that held you back. But every day you act, even in small ways, you build momentum that will eventually rewrite your entire story. Remember, you're not stuck because you lack opportunity. You're stuck because you've accepted limitation. And the moment you break that acceptance, everything changes. Wealth isn't a destination, it's a direction. It's a mindset, a discipline, a way of living that multiplies over time. So build habits that compound. Invest in knowledge that expands. Protect your focus like it's gold, because it is. And when you fall, and you will get up, recalibrate, and go again. The rich aren't perfect, they're persistent. Let this be your turning point. Not just another listen that fades away, but the start of a new reality. Because right now, as you sit here, you are one decision away from shifting your entire financial future. And if you ever doubt that, rewind this book. Listen again, because repetition is how habits form, and habits are how empires are built. This is Imperium Audiobooks, reminding you, the blueprint is already yours. Now it's time to build.